I absolutely love a good sales book, and today I'm going to share my all-time top 3 sales books. Now, I've read hundreds of sales books over the years. I read my first sales book when I was 16 years old, when I got my first job in sales. It was a book called The Sales Bible by Jeffrey Gitomer. Now, whilst that's not in my top 3, it's definitely in my top 10, and that had a huge impact on my love of sales and what has become a career in sales spanning over 20 years. In that time, I've read a lot of sales books, including most of the well-known sales books you'll know and love. And what I've got today are my all-time top 3. These are the books that, through it all, I think are the best sales books out there at the moment. I've gotten read most of all the newest sales books. I've gotten read most of the old sales books. And through it all, these are my top 3. So I'm going to do these in order, starting at number 3. It is a book called The Number One Bestseller by Lee Bartlett. Now, this is a book that came out over 12 years ago. And it was one of the ones I read sort of during a stage of my career where I just started posting on LinkedIn and building my personal brand. And I actually met Lee at a conference here in the UK, and we built an incredible friendship. I read this book and was just blown away. So like I said, it's titled The Number One Bestseller, and it's his journey as a top performing salesperson in the most honest, authentic, and genuine way that you could ever see in a book. He shares everything from starting to succeeding. He takes you through customer journeys from prospecting to closing in complex, big number B2B sales. So we're talking multiple stakeholders. We're talking multiple departments involved. And Lee shows us what that journey looks like and how you become the number one seller in your organization. What I love a lot about this, and if you ever have the opportunity to see Lee speak or, listen to any of his podcast interviews, is one of the most driven, competitive people I have ever met. And you see it in the book. You read it in the book. He is so driven. And that is what's helped him push through all the challenges to become a top performing salesperson. If you want to be successful in sales, this book is a must read. It's inspiring, it's motivating, it shows you the raw things required to succeed in sales. So this is number 3 for me, The Number One Bestseller by Lee Bartlett. Phenomenal book and a phenomenal expert. And what I will say is a couple of these books I'm going to suggest, this one included, there'll be a lot of you that have never heard of this before. And it's not a reflection of the book itself. It's a reflection of how that book is marketed. Now, Lee, as an example, spent a lot of time promoting it when he published it. But since then, he's not really a social media person. He doesn't share content. He doesn't really do conferences and things like that. He's busy running an amazing agency where he's working with some of the biggest companies to grow their sales. He's out there doing the work, and I absolutely respect that. Some of the most successful salespeople and experts, they're not visible. They're just busy doing what they love. So just for that reason, many of you might not have heard of this book, but honestly, it's one of the best sales books out there. Some of the books you see plastered everywhere, you might see them everywhere. It doesn't mean they're the best, if that makes sense. Right, in second place. Now, you'll definitely know this sales author. He's written, I think, the most sales books out of any sales author out there. It is, of course, Jeb Blount. Again, another person who I think is one of the best sales experts out there. I'm very grateful enough to have built a great friendship with him over the years. He is an incredible person and, in my opinion, one of the best sales authors of all time. I think he's written nearly 20 books, maybe even over 20 sales books that span every part of selling. My favorite, I've read them all and they're all phenomenal. I would highly recommend every single one of them. But my personal favorite out of all of them and all sales books is Sales EQ. This is all about the psychology of selling, emotional intelligence, and it is phenomenal. It is such a fascinating deep dive into how the brain works in sales, in buying, in our customers, just the whole process. And it goes deep and it's so fascinating, so educational, so well written. I have listened to this multiple times. I've read this multiple times. And again, this is my number 2 all-time favorite sales book, Sales EQ by Jeb Blount. And again, Jeb's got a whole library of incredible books. He is one of the best sales speakers out there. He has an incredible sales training platform called Sales Gravy. I actually have multiple training courses on there that are available. So go and check that out as well. But I would highly recommend this book, Sales EQ by Jeb Blount. Now, in my top spot, and I'm going to add something here. This has been my number 1 all-time favorite sales book since I've read it. And that is after reading multiple more sales books since then. This is hands down, still to this day, my all-time favorite sales book. And it will be another one that some of you may not have heard of before. It is a book called The Extremely Successful Salesman's Club by Chris Murray. Now, this is the revised edition. And it's revised because it actually has my quote on the cover, which says, my number 1 all-time favorite sales book, The Extremely Successful Salesman's Club, blew me away. This is phenomenal. And I'm going to tell you why. And I know as soon as I do, it's going to make you really want to read it. Most sales books, like some of the others I explained, they tell you how to sell, or they'll share some personal stories of how that person's sold. It's very much an educational style book. This is all of that, but wrapped into a story. And it is the story of an uncle training his nephew to help him get into this extremely successful salesman's club. So the uncle is teaching these lessons. And the way that it's almost a traditional, very, very powerful sales book wrapped into a story that makes it so much more engaging to read. It makes the messages land so much better. It is so enjoyable to read. It's so inspiring, so motivational. It's got tons of really tactical, strategic, valuable content in it, wrapped into this beautiful story. It's just the best sales book of all time, in my opinion. The Extremely Successful Salesman's Club is a must-read for everyone in sales. Chris Murray's done a phenomenal job. He's written several books. He is an amazing sales trainer. He's an amazing sales speaker. Again, someone I have a massive amount of respect for. And like I said, to this day, my all-time favorite sales book. So those are my top 3. Now, I have lots more that I genuinely love. If you go onto LinkedIn, go onto my profile, you'll see a post, probably within the last month or 2, where I share my all-time favorite 6 sales books. It includes these 3 and a few others. I also tag in some of my other favorites as well. There are phenomenal sales books from all different authors from all across the globe. I love a good sales book. But today, those are my top 3 that I would highly recommend you check out. If you are listening to this, watching this, I'd love to know what your favorite sales books are. Add them into the comments. Message me if there are books you think I should read. Please do send them to me. I'm always keen to read new sales books or check out books that I may have missed along the way. But a good sales book can be massively impactful to your career. So those are my top 3. I hope you found that interesting. I look forward to hearing what your favorite sales books are, and I'll see you on the next episode very soon.